Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Everyone. So, great, we got a bunch of announcements. So thank you everyone for adding things in there. And does anyone need any help on those things? They were just announcements. Cool. Brilliant. So discussions. Myra, over to you.
Yep, thank you. So just for context, last month when we were tagging the release candidate was very difficult. We faced a lot of failures, and it was mostly because it was the only time a Q&A was running on that environment. So as a resolution for that, a dedicated pipeline has been scheduled to run on the 15th, which is a couple of days before we tag the release candidate. And it is going to execute the exact same specs that are executed when we are tagging the release candidate. So it gives us a couple of times for us to find failures before, and it gives Q&A time to fix those failures. So that is one improvement from last month. I still think that is some sort of band-aid because we are still only testing starting from the 15th. So I open up a proposal to update our environment in a more frequent basis. Basically to try to update it instead of one day at a month, probably update it, I don't know, 1 week each week. So that will give us some time to update the environment and to test it. And I think it will be better for us to test it in a weekly basis instead of testing it in a daily basis. So if anyone is interested, I would like to hear some comments or questions or doubts about that.
Oh, if I remember correctly, this is a great idea, Myra. So let me start with this. So if I remember correctly, we started thinking some times ago about running regular RC candidates for the past 3 stable branches. Even if there's nothing there, we're just retagging with RC numbers so that we know that stable branches are working, are capable of running releases. The release tools for creating a release is still working and everything, so that we don't get caught by surprise when we do security release, which goes back 3 versions. So yeah, definitely a good idea.
Yeah, I think my general idea is to basically tag release candidates like in a dry run mode without creating the stable version and without actually tagging something. So yeah, I think it's definitely something to explore.
Yeah, but if we go with the last 3 stable branches, so we create something like 15 right now, 15.05 RC1, for instance. So it's something that we can do because we already have the stable branches. We can even create the package and install it on the pre-environment, because it will be before RC42 for the monthly release. That environment is still open to install new packages. So running a RC from the current stable release would just install there and work as expected. So it gives more coverage in terms of end-to-end pipeline from running a complete patch release.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that up. Do you need, go ahead, Ruben.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, wouldn't that count as a downgrade? So like if you're installing an RC candidate for, say, 2 versions back, the pre-environment will contain the last monthly release, right?
Yeah. So it will not install it. When you do the security release, it will install only the one from the current version. So if we want to test the pipeline on the stable branches, we can do like a security release without, we just tag the stable branches for RCs, and we need to double check, but the pipeline will just skip the old milestones and install the package from the last one.
Yeah, I think we also, for past releases, we use the release instance and not the pre-instance. The
Because it's not an
pre-instance
RC. If
yeah,
we do
exactly.
an RC,
It's
it
only
goes on
used
pre.
for release candidates.
Do you need us to put stuff on the issue, Myra? Like, what's the kind of status of this at the moment?
Well, the status will be right now, I just wanted to check that it was a good idea, something to move us forward to ease the pain for release management. I will add some comments there and build a stronger proposal of what it's actually going to look like, and probably ping all of you there.
Super, thanks a lot.
I just want to add that I also agree it's a good idea to test earlier before we actually tag the final release candidate.
And for context, for everyone who didn't get to experience the fun of the last monthly release, that was because new tests had been created that worked on all the environments except for the pre-environment. We only test on the pre-environment right up close to the release date. So it was a fun twist for the month, I think. Cool. Myra, do you want to jump to B?
Yeah, this is something that came up last week, basically about who is the maintainer or the official team maintainer for the ChatOps project. There isn't a workflow for that project in terms that someone opens up a merge request and sees some of the maintainers that are listed on the merge request approval and just ping one. Now that project was mostly maintained by Robert, which makes me assume that the delivery team is the owner of that project. But if you are the owner, there are some other engineers that are listed as maintainers. I don't know if there is an historical reason for that. Some of them are even outside infra, and I don't see them participating enough in the reviews or not at all. So I'm not sure if we should let them, or what should we do about this project in terms of code reviews? So
I think other people should be, and we should expect people to be contributing. Certainly, we haven't historically said like loudly in public, yes, we are the owners, because that brings with it quite a lot of extra stuff that we don't necessarily have time to do. However, it is central to what we do. So I think we should assume that we probably are the owners, but let's try and avoid kind of bringing a heap of extra work. So I think if it's something we need to change and you know, it really affects us, then absolutely, please, let's keep on top of it, get things, bring things up, let's prioritize the work we need to do. There's a lot of stuff I know I've talked to, like Jav, for example, quite a lot in the past about feature flag changes and those sorts of things. I don't think we have to be the people who implement and care about all of that stuff. There are lots of other people who care about, do feature flags get updated correctly or not? So I think for the question you had at the time, Myra, like, yes, I think that was the right thing to do. It certainly affects us, but I think let's not take on too much more on this right now if we don't have to.
Yeah, I was also thinking that maybe we may want to use the code owner features so that we make sure that we take ownership of the, because it's well designed, every command is its own file. So we can say the auto deploy command is something that delivery team owns. So we want to be sure that our names show up when someone changes something like this. Feature flags, yeah, maybe not our thing, but still, so that we start creating some clear ownership on the part that we care of that project.
Was there
I
any?
think there are.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think there are a lot of inherited maintainers, kind of, because it's under the GitLab com group, right? So I think I saw non-engineers also are maintainers in ChatOps. I think that's from the inherited permissions.
That may also be, I think we were quite limited in times where we've been caught in times of need. We've been quite limited on who was around. So it could also be fairly broad to help us in times of need, get things changed there. So is there anything immediate we need to do on this, Myra? Like I didn't have the full context on your change, but do we need to actually plan to make some changes?
No, well, just one announcement that I have added all of you as a maintainer. So if you receive a ping like, hey, can you review my code, is because of it. And another thing that I am going to do is that I am going to add the code approvals on at least the auto deploy namespace. So that any change on the auto deploy command is kind of approved by us because we own it. So it is a bit more organized than it is now.
Great, sounds good. Thanks for that. Do you want to release managers? Do you want to jump to 3?
Sure. So I want to walk through the last graph and how we are doing with the releases. It's been a fun week. So let me share my screen and we take a look at those things together. Okay, so let's start here. I was trying to find a way to remember what happened during the week so that I can just give more meaningful information when we watch this. So I started annotating the graphs myself. So this is the last week. Wasn't really, let me do this before, because 1 week only is not enough. So let me do 14. So I had the impression during the week that we weren't doing as good as we used to. And if we compare to the week before, we can clearly see that, right? So there's a lot of not promoted packages that happened last week. We were always, I always look at the end of the week because it's where things stabilize and we usually see a situation like this one where we deploy everything. And this didn't happen last week. So we were around always at least 3-4 packages not deployed, not promoted to production. So what happened? So yeah, usual incident, but we had a lot of contention for the environment because of the CI decomposition work. We had the environment being blocked for 2 hours, 3 hours. And so this reflected on the result. I have to say also, I don't like saying this, but we also had some days where Graham was in PTO last week, and this reflected as well, because basically that 1-2 packages that he can promote extra, they definitely change the end result, right? So that's something. Let me go back to the last 7 days because I want to show why this is refreshing. We have computers, yeah. So we have a new thing also, which is this graph down here, which, as you can see, dropped down significantly because there was a bug before this morning. So we are going to take a look at this morning data only. So let the thing refresh. So this is tracking active coordinated pipelines. So this gives us, this is the first point in time where we have real values. So this is checking from the last successful coordinated pipeline, the status of every newer pipeline past that. So it's gonna give us if they are manual, running, or scheduled. So it gives an idea of how much we are lagging behind with promotion, or if we are just wasting packages, because these numbers will get higher if we don't promote, because then we will have.
What does manual mean?
Manual mean that we have to promote. Manual is a manual
Right.
job. So promotion is the only manual job we have right now. And so if you see something in scheduled, is mostly likely the baking time, can even be the delayed. When we tag packages, we are delaying the check, so they can be delayed by 1 hour, 30 minutes. But if something stays scheduled for a long time, that's usually a promotion. And yeah, that's a good thing to see how, I mean, we just have data since this morning, so it's a bit, is not enough to make extract some information from here, but we will see next week. And finally, those are the graphs within the product. I think this one, yeah. Again, this is absolute, the struggle we were seeing are definitely reflected with the deployment frequency that we can see from the GitLab product as well. Because yeah, we were peaking at 4 when we usually go 6. This is last month, go 5, 6 deployment a day at the end of the week. And this time we were below. Interestingly, there's no much evidence of this struggle in the lead time for changes, which is the equivalent of mean time to production. Maybe because there was also a general struggle in merging things, so something that was affecting development as well. I have no data to bake these findings, but yeah, that's fun to figure out because it's still,
maybe master was broken.
That's median, and we are around below that number. That's usual the Mondays where we are accumulating weekends data. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Can I show a graph as well that goes alongside this, which I think I've just caught up on the blocking data that we have. It's not completely accurate, but it's better than 0. So we can see here, the red stuff is staging and the blue stuff is production. So we can see the staging one is way higher than it has been. That's going to be the CI decomposition, and production flakes a lot, but you know, it's generally higher than some weeks we've had. So we can start.
This is obviously delaying promotion because if we can't access the staging.
Exactly, that's it, exactly. So we see those things there. So I think we're starting to be able to hopefully start to build a picture, which is super useful. So the CI decomposition stuff is really interesting. It, I believe, is heading to production this weekend. So they're in kind of critical test stages. But what I think we will start to be able to, or what we'll start to see is over the course of this year, as infrastructure grows, these sorts of projects will be more common. And what we'll want to do is be able to show the environment contention for these types of problems coming in. So useful to be able to see it. So is there any other stuff we want to talk about around any of that, anything around releases? Yep, awesome. Is there anything else, is there anything else anyone wants to bring up on this recording? Yep, okay.